You're listening to CFRN, the Christian Financial Radio Network.
Good afternoon, traders, and welcome back to the CFRN E-Mini Futures Cast. This is the daily broadcast of Indeterminate Length, where we discuss all things E-Mini, along with some really big ideas on the finer points of trading gold, bonds, crude, sugar, the euro. Joining us today, Mr. Michael Borth. From our trading desk in Chicago, Mr. Burton Schlichter. Now, to get things started, let's go to our host and founder in Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Here's Dwayne.
Good afternoon. Welcome back. Today is Friday, 6th day of September, 2024. Thanks so much for joining us. Whoever you are, wherever you are, we're just glad to have you right here, right now. We do 2 live broadcasts every trading day. The first broadcast is our live training room. That's for members only and those taking their 1-week free trial. If you have not taken your 1-week free trial, go to mytradingiq.com. There it is right there, mytradingiq.com. At the top of the page, there's a link. No credit card required. Smash that purple button. Fill out the registration form. Hit submit. And we'll do our best to get your desktop set up today. Get your indicators indicating today. Your trial will officially start on Monday and run through next Friday. So yes, 5-day free trial just became 7 days. But make sure you get that in today as early as possible, because if you put it in late today, we may not see it because, well, it's the weekend, right? Okay, our schedule each and every day. About 12:50, Michael will join us. That's 50 minutes into the broadcast. He'll give us a recap of what happened in the live training room. Then we'll go on the TradingView platform, do some live trading for about 30 minutes. Then I'll come back and wrap things up with our good word for the day. But we always start with our daily devotional, and that's where we will head right here, right now. The topic of our devotion last week, this week, and next week, God's dream for your life. Today's scripture is James 1, verses 5 through 8, and I'll share with you from the Message translation. If you don't know what you're doing, pray to the Father. He loves to help. You'll get His help and won't be condescended to when you ask for it. Ask boldly, believingly, without a second thought. People who worry their prayers are like wind-whipped waves. Don't think you're going to get anything from the Master that way. Adrift at sea, keeping all your options open. James 1, 5 through 8. 4 decisions that determine your destiny. In the Dr. Seuss poem, The Zode in the Road, a young Zode comes to a fork in the road and spends quite some time trying to decide which place to go to. He thinks about the possibility that one place may be too hot and the other too cool, or one too high and the other too low. After scratching his head in indecision, the Zode finally decides to play it safe and start off for both places at once. And that meant the Zode got nowhere. What decision do you need to make right now in your life? I implore you to do something great with your life for Jesus. Don't be a Zode. Don't waste your life. Don't live in mediocrity. Don't just exist. Make the decisions that will determine your destiny. There are 4 life-changing decisions that every person has to make. First one, to commit your life to Christ and become a part of His family. If you haven't done that, what are you waiting on? Not to decide is to decide. Number 2, to commit to the habits that will help you grow spiritually. Don't be a wishy-washy, lukewarm, shallow Christian. Go head on. Be all that God wants you to be. He had that slogan before the army. Number 3, to use your talents, gifts, abilities, and experiences to serve God and others. Some of you have been sitting on the bench, and it's time to get in the game. And number 4, to share Jesus Christ with others. Once you know the good news, you're to become a messenger so that many may hear it. James 1, 7 through 8. If you are unable to make up your mind and undecided in all you do, you must not think that you will receive anything from the Lord. James 1, 7 through 8. James doesn't pull any punches in the whole book of James. Join me in a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, we come before you today, seeking your wisdom, as your word tells us in the scripture we just read. We ask that you generously provide us with understanding and discernment in every decision we face. Help us to trust you wholeheartedly, without doubting, for we know that when we ask in faith, you hear us. Strengthen our hearts, Lord, and keep us steadfast in our walk with you. May we not be tossed by the winds of uncertainty, but anchored in your truth. Guide us in all that we do, and may our lives reflect your glory. It's in Jesus' name we believe and pray. And everybody said, amen. Amen, and happy Friday. Let me give you the numbers from around the world, and no, it's not pretty. And we'll talk about why during the course of the broadcast. Let's start in the U.S. with the cash markets, or the indices as they're called. The Dow down 374 points, almost 1%. NASDAQ down 425 points, almost 2.5%. S&P 500 down 88 points, over 1.5%. And the Russell 2000, our man in the street, down 41 points, almost 2%. In the commodity basket, crude oil down $1.54, trading 67.69 last. That's a drop of over 2%. Gold down $8.40, trading 25.3470 last. Silver down 52 cents, trading 28.57 last. That's a drop of almost 2%, and well over $2,500 per contract traded. In the Asian markets at the close, the Nikkei dropped 265 points. Shanghai fell 22. The Hang Seng was unchanged on the session. And in the European markets, at the close, FTSE down 60 points. The DAX down 296 points. That's over 1.5%. The CAC down 79. And for the CAC, that's well over 1%. So we had a red day in Asia. It was a red day for the UK. And it's a big red Radio Friday here in the US of A. Let's take a look at some news. We'll do the world news first. Hunter Biden pleaded guilty yesterday to tax fraud charges, switching his plea as jury selection in California was due to begin. Now, this is all a great mystery. I saw some of the brightest legal minds out there, and his attorney's a pretty sharp cookie as well. No one really seems to understand what the plot is here. But Biden now faces up to 17 years in prison and fines of up to $1.3 million. Sentencing is scheduled for December 16th. Now, his dad has said he's not going to pardon him, not going to commute his sentence. But well, we're gonna have a new president one way or the other come November, but they won't actually take office till January. Biden was charged last year on 9 counts related to tax evasion, with prosecutors alleging over $1 million in owed federal taxes. Prosecutors say he counted strip club visits, rent, and children's tuition as business expenses, among other items. This case is separate from Biden's conviction on gun-related felony charges, for which sentencing is scheduled for November 13th. Separately, former President Donald Trump pleaded not guilty through his lawyer to renewed charges of 2020 election interference. This happened yesterday. The indictment was revised to focus on actions he took as a private citizen following the Supreme Court decision finding U.S. presidents have some immunity over criminal charges. They're just going to get him any way they possibly can. But why can't we just have a fair election? I mean, now I remember as a kid, I don't know if it was called social studies. I don't think they'd invented the term political science yet, but as a grade schooler, we learned that politics was a dirty game, and we were taught the definition of muckraking or muckrakers. It's just wrong. And everybody on both sides of the aisle knows it's wrong. But it is what it is. Boeing, which we've mentioned, seems to have a hard time catching a break. Their faulty Starliner vehicle is scheduled to depart from the International Space Station this evening and return to Earth without its two-person crew. Yep, it's going to be an empty bus. 73 days later than intended. Weather permitting, the small bus-sized module will parachute 6 hours later in New Mexico to the White Sands Space Harbor. The vehicle's inaugural crewed mission launched June 5th with astronauts Suni Williams and Butch Wilmore in tow for a planned 8-day trip to the ISS. Imagine your kids. Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Remember that, what was it, a 3-hour cruise that Gilligan and the skipper took the gang on? This was supposed to be an 8-day trip. Well, things didn't work out. Shortly before docking, 5 of the service module's 28 thrusters misfired. On-Earth tests point to a possible overheated, swollen Teflon seal blocking the flow of propellant. Later analysis revealed a separate helium leak in the propulsion system. The issues have forced engineers to delay the astronauts' homecoming out of caution. After over 2 months of deliberation, officials opted to return a crewless Starliner to Earth and transport the 2 astronauts in February aboard SpaceX regularly scheduled Crew Dragon spacecraft. Wow. Imagine being trapped in space. And for all you football fans, the 2024-25 NFL season got underway last night with the defending champion, Kansas City Chiefs, hosting the Baltimore Ravens in a rematch of last season's AFC Championship. Star Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes threw for 291 yards and 1 touchdown en route to a 27-20 victory. The Green Bay Packers and the Philadelphia Eagles face off tonight at 8:15 p.m. Eastern in Brazil. You say, what? Yep, Brazil. One of 5 international games this season. I guess they're trying to see if they can make football popular around the world. And then we're going to have 2 kinds of football, and we already do, and everybody's always confused. The rest of the league gets underway beginning Sunday with the return of veteran quarterback Aaron Rodgers with the New York Jets after a season-ending injury last year against the San Francisco 49ers. That'll be Monday night at 8:20 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. From top draft pick Caleb Williams, taking over quarterback for the Chicago Bears, to whether the Dallas Cowboys can rebound from an early playoff exit for the season. There's all kinds of stories. I know you're all excited. Already got the popcorn popped. And here we go. I heard somebody call it America's favorite pastime the other day on some TV show. I thought that was baseball. Maybe it's changed. The world's favorite pastime is, I think, by far football, the one that's spelled funny. You know, it just means soccer. Okay, market news. The U.S. economy added fewer jobs than expected in August, while the unemployment rate ticked lower. Data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics released Friday showed the labor market added 142,000 non-farm payroll jobs in August, fewer additions than the 165,000 expected by economists. Meanwhile, the unemployment rate fell to 4.2% from 4.3% in July. Apparently, the markets didn't get the memo. August job additions came in higher than the revised 89,000 added in July. Overall revisions to the June and July labor reports showed the U.S. economy added 86,000 fewer jobs than initially reported in those months. U.S. stocks today erased the early gains as investors digested a crucial jobs report that provided clues to the size of this month's expected interest rate cut and the resilience of the U.S. economy. Now, that's on the 18th of this month. The Fed meeting takes place. Tech stocks led the morning's declines, with the NASDAQ composite down nearly 2% in early trading. S&P 500 and Dow Jones dropped around 1% and 0.5% respectively. I just gave you more updated numbers. The U.S. economy added 142,000 jobs in August, which trailed expectations for 165,000. So, thin news day, I guess. Actually, there was a lot of economic reports out today, but nothing moved the needle much to the upside. When we go to the charts, you'll see it. I mean, everybody's like, oh man, I hope we don't go into a recession. If we get away with, I know I've said this so many times, you're tired of hearing it, but if we get away with just a recession, we should count ourselves the most blessed nation on planet Earth. Everything I see points to a full-on depression. But, I'm not a perma-bear, and I don't like to be the bearer of bad news. That's just my opinion. And I really hope I'm wrong. Now, according to this article, investors are increasingly confident the U.S. economy will achieve a soft landing, a scenario in which higher interest rates lead to lower inflation without a major hit to economic growth. On the surface, it appears all signs point to that outcome. Inflation has eased, the economy is still expanding, consumer confidence has risen, retail sales are healthy, corporate profits remain strong, and stocks continue to hover at record highs, with the Federal Reserve on tap to cut rates as soon as its next meeting on the 18th. But one strategist on Yahoo Finance warned in his podcast, Stocks in Translation, that there are cracks under the surface. He said we're skating on ice that's a bit thinner than a lot of people presume. Data pointed to a rising unemployment rate and elevated earnings expectations, both of which contributed to the stock market rout seen at the start of August and September. We'll find out who's right sooner than later. Fed Waller spoke today. That was one of the economic events. Federal Reserve Governor Christopher Waller said today the time has come for the U.S. Central Bank to begin a series of interest rate cuts this month, adding that he is open-minded about the size and pace of those reductions. If the data supports cuts at consecutive meetings, then I believe it will be appropriate to cut at consecutive meetings. These remarks were delivered at the University of Notre Dame. If the data suggests the need for larger cuts, then I will support that as well. I was a big advocate of front-loading rate hikes when inflation accelerated in 2022, And I'll be an advocate of front-loading rate cuts if that is appropriate. And there's another Fed head speaking today somewhere. Reuters tells us that the Massachusetts security regulators have fined Morgan Stanley $2 million for failing to properly monitor trades by a First Republic Bank insider before the bank failed, according to a spokesperson for the regulator and a consent order disclosed this morning. Morgan Stanley held the account for a former insider at First Republic and failed to affirm with the customer that the individual was not trading based on material non-public information at the time. Insider trading hasn't gone away. Consent order said Morgan Stanley proposed a settlement on September 3rd without admitting or denying wrongdoing. It's kind of what Hunter's doing. It's called the Alford plea. A spokesperson for the bank said the firm was pleased to have resolved the matter. I mean, come on, you're Morgan Stanley. What's $2 million? What's a $2 million fine? It's like you and I getting a parking ticket, right? The IRS has collected $1.3 billion from high wealth tax dodgers since last fall. That announcement came out this morning. Crediting spending that has ramped up collection enforcement through President Joe Biden's signature climate, healthcare, and tax package signed into law in 2022. Our friend Janet Yellen and the IRS commissioner traveled to Austin, Texas to tour an IRS campus and announce the latest milestone in tax collections as Republicans warn of big future budget cuts to the tax agency if they take over the White House and Congress. Yellen, in a planned speech in Austin, will say that in 2019, the top 1% of wealthy Americans owed more than 1/5 of all unpaid taxes, leaving ordinary Americans to shoulder the burden. To fix this, we've channeled IRS funding towards significant investments to combat tax evasion. There's two people in the world you don't want to get mad at you. One's God, the other's the IRS. True story. Okay, Logic 247, our 24/7 around the clock, the Emini alert service. Over the last 318 weeks, we've issued over 17,770 individual handcrafted alerts. I think we're closing in on 17,800. Now, this recap was done this morning by Valerie at 6:15 a.m. Eastern, so some things have changed since then. We had some pretty wild markets, both up and down this morning, but down was the winner at the end of the rampage. Since the markets opened Monday night, typically this starts Sunday night, but because we had a Monday holiday, weekly trading zones don't come out till Tuesday morning, etc. So since the markets opened Monday night, not Sunday, but Monday, we've issued 44 alerts, plus the ones I issued today. That will be in the recap when Valerie finalizes the recap for the entire week this afternoon, as she does. At the time of the recap, we were still waiting on the outcome of 11. That gave us 33 actionable alerts, of which 3 or 9% would have been stopped out based on market structure and a very simple process that we teach all of our passport holders in their one-on-one mentoring sessions. Over the last 318 weeks and almost 17,800 individual alerts, what we've averaged on a weekly basis is 20% or less of the alerts being stopped out, again based on market structure and that simple process we teach all of our passport holders. So if we close out the week at 9%, that would be very good. I think last week we had an outlier. I think we ended up with 26% last week. Now, I did say yesterday that for the benefit of those who don't have access to Logic 247, that I would take a quick run through this week's alerts and give you an idea what they look like. Again, the Logic alerts, they are not created for you to just trade so you don't have to learn how to trade. No. The purpose of the alerts is to help you learn how to read the chart. The alerts are put out well ahead of time before they trigger so that you have an opportunity to go to your 30-minute chart and draw horizontal lines at all the important inflection points. If you repeat that process again and again, over and over, eventually you'll be able to look at a 30-minute chart and see the same windows of opportunity that I see, which are reflected in the Logic alerts and also in the CTAs. So last week we did end up higher than the average, but it didn't really move the needle much because we were talking about 317 weeks at 20% or less. I mean, we've had weeks of 0%, 3%, 5%. It's rare to catch one over 20%, but when you average them all together, we're still well below the 20% average. So week 318, which again started Monday night, not Sunday night, we had a long on the ES. B means buy. T means initial target. PR means potential resistance because it's a long trade, or target number 2. And then the final trade to target on a long is always the weekly trading zone above. Here's one on the Dow that never triggered. And based on how the market looks today, I don't suspect it will. Same with this Russell, same with this NQ. Then we had a short on the NQ. Then we had a stop out on crude. And then we had a short on crude. We had a short on gold. We had a short on the ES. We had a short on the Dow. We had a short on the Russell. We had a short on silver. And we had a long on silver. See, that's a beautiful thing about futures. You can trade long and short all in the same session if that's what the chart in front of you tells you to do. Now, all of that happened Monday night. Okay. Normally it would be a Sunday night, but we had a holiday Monday. So then we roll into Tuesday. I only put out one alert Tuesday. I just didn't like the way the markets looked. It was a long on gold, and it did its job. And then where are we at now? Wednesday. Long on gold. Short on gold that never triggered. Short on crude. And a long on crude. Long on the Russell. Now, PR means potential resistance, but you can think of it as target number 2, target number 3, target number 4. And when you have a short trade, you'll see PS, potential support, potential support. It's taking you from window of opportunity to window of opportunity to window of opportunity. This was a long on the NQ, short on the ES. See, instead of PR, potential resistance, you've got PS, potential. So what does that mean? It means you sell 55.23, and if you're just in it to get your goal for the day, you take your profit at 55.21. That's 2 points in the ES, goal for the day, put the mouse away, go do life. Here's a long on the ES in the same session, and it worked. And then we've got a long on the Dow. and a short on the Dow. Stop out on the Russell, long on the Russell, long on the NQ, short on the NQ, stop out on the NQ. This was rolling into yesterday. And then this gold hasn't triggered, nor has this crude. Short on the Russell, short on the ES, no trigger on silver. Short on the NQ, short on the ES, short on the Russell, short on the NQ, long on gold, and then a long on silver, long on the Dow, and then we had a short on the Dow. Long on crude hasn't triggered, long on the Russell, at least not triggered at the time Valerie did the recap. Some of these will change because they have triggered. And then these are the ones that came out today. But you always have an entry price, whether it's a buy or a sell, an initial target designed to help you get your goal for the day, and then where the market is likely to find potential support, target number 2. If it gets through target number 2, then target number 3. And if it gets through target number 3, the final trade to target is the weekly trading zone. On every short trade, the final trade to target is the weekly zone below. On every long trade or long alert, the final trade to target is the weekly zone above. Okay, so I had said yesterday that I would give you a run through that. Now, when you're a passport holder, even when you're on the trial, you have access to the Logic 247 channel. And the last alert published was 17,774. So we are closing in on 17,800. Now, long before the Logic alerts, and I know that's a really long time ago, because the Logic alerts have been around for 318 weeks. Our original alert service was the concierge trade alerts. Now, if you're a member or a trial member, you can read all of this information. The Logic alerts can come out anytime around the clock, 2 a.m. or 2 p.m. Futures trade around the clock. We have traders around the globe. Our day session is their night session, and vice versa. But the CTAs are published as a static report each evening shortly after the Globex Open. So we're in the Friday session right now, but that began last night at 6 p.m. Eastern. So 35 minutes after the open last night, all of our members and trial members had access to all of these targets. Okay? So as we go to the chart, just remember that. So it would be the second 30-minute candle after the market opened. So we'll go where we go, to the daily chart of the S&P. And my. How long have I been talking about that 50% fib retracement? Well, we already went through it and we hit the 62. We found support at the previous bullish cross. But I've been talking about it again on this move. We took out the 24% fib retracement up here. And then we took out the 38. Last night in the workshop, we talked about the 38 being, potentially support. And in early going, we were basically lined up right with the previous bullish cross. So we came down to it and we bounced. And then we caught a second bounce. But that bounce ended. And now traded through the 38. Now, this is on a daily chart. If you go to a smaller time frame, You'll probably see some bounce there, okay, right at that area, because that's a big deal, 54.53. But look where we're headed, to the 50% fib retracement. Now that's based off the low put in on April 19th and the all-time historic high, which was put in July 16th. Okay. So we've already tested the 62. We spiked it. We hit this bullish cross area. Now we're just a tiny bit. It looked like for a second there we were a tiny bit off the low of the day. But for the indices, I think we've blown out all the lowest weekly trading zones. I mean, this is serious stuff. So those who are more optimistic than I hope they're right. Now, the reason we look at a daily chart every day at the beginning is because I want you to incorporate into your plan spending 2 minutes with the daily chart of whatever it is you trade, whether it's futures or stocks or crypto or Forex or ETFs. You see, institutional traders are the ones who actually move price. It has to do with their account size and the size they trade in. You and I are basically just liquidity for them. So, by spending 2 minutes at the beginning of your trading session, looking at the daily chart of whatever you're about to trade, you're able to do a couple different things. Number one, you can see what the big deep pockets are up to, because then all you have to do is the same thing long enough to get your goal for the day. You can put the mouse away. Our indicators and our strategies not designed to outsmart the institutions with their infinite resources, but to help us see and understand what they're doing, why they're doing it, what their targets are, what the obstacles are. That makes us well-informed traders. And so as we drop to our smaller time frames, there's a better chance we'll do the right thing. See, got a little bit of wick there, so we've just come off the low of the day a little bit. Okay? If it doesn't happen today, I mean, that would really be a dramatic candle if we made it all the way to the 50 today. But come Sunday night, I think you should have your eyes on this number, 5370. Okay? You'll notice this green candle here went all the way from the 38 to the 50. One candle. Now, institutional traders look at daily, weekly, and monthly charts, the way you and I look at 30-minute charts, 5-minute charts, tick charts, and range charts. It all has to do with account size. Okay? So again, look over the shoulder of the men and women who move price, see what they're doing, see where their obstacles are or their targets, okay? And then drop to your smaller time frames and get busy. Now, all alerts, the logic alerts, the concierge trade alerts, they're all created on the 30-minute chart. The vertical line here separates today, Friday, from yesterday, Thursday, where we had a pretty sideways, lackluster day. And then back here's Wednesday, and then Tuesday, Monday. We weren't here Monday for the short day. So, market opened last night. The CTAs came out. What was it, 5 minutes into the life of this candle? Okay? And price, we're below the BBC, so we anticipate lower prices. Green lines, the BBC stands for bull, bear, cross. When price is above the green line, we're bullish, anticipating higher prices. Once price gets below the green line, we're bearish and anticipate lower prices. Hence the name BBC, bull, bear, cross. Okay. Now, markets are fractal in nature. You can apply the BBC to a daily, a weekly, a monthly, 30-minute, a 5-minute, a tick chart, a range chart, and it will function the same no matter what time frame you apply it to. Or it doesn't even have to be a time-based chart. It can be a range chart, as I said. Still going to function the same. So price comes down to the short target and finds support. Basically right where the market did yesterday. Right there. See it? Support will always send the market looking for resistance. Resistance will send the market looking for support. Got to look way left to find this support. Buyers came in. Got us above red and falling. Now the step line crossed here. See, coming down, you had that perfect stack price, step line, red and falling. But right here, the step line crossed. And when the step line crosses from the left side to the right side of red and falling, we expect a retracement to the BBC. And we got one, a big one. Took us all the way up to the long target. Pretty much to the tick. We overshot it by 2 ticks. Okay? So resistance is now going to send the market looking for support. We've already traded below the lowest weekly trading zone. We got to here. Buyers came in, drove us back up to the lowest zone, which we expect to be support on the way down. But it was a wild ride this morning. From here, look how far we ran back up, but we hit the step line and then another drop. Now notice the step line is starting to angle a little bit to the right. Okay? When the step line crosses red and falling, that's when you expect that retracement back to the BBC, just like you saw here. Okay? Now, this is the 8:30 candle. Normally the 9:30 Eastern candle is the biggest candle of the session, but we had, I think we had 7 different economic reports came out this morning. We counted them up last night in the workshop. Some were high impact, some were medium, and some were low. But it was just a lot of news to hit the market all at once. So that's the story on the ES. On the Dow, here's where we opened below the BBC, and we dropped just shy of the target. The low was 71, and the target it was at 60. But you only need 20 points to get your goal for the day. And so this candle opened at 812 and opened at 812 and dropped to 771. So that was enough to give you your goal for the day for a couple of days. So the market found support right before we hit this low. Okay, that happens. Support sends us up to resistance. Yeah, we consolidated along BBC there, and came the drop, and this low, just above this low from yesterday. Buyers are hopeful, optimistic. The step line crosses, we pull back to the BBC, we go all the way through the long target, and we hit the weekly zone to the tick. Resistance sends the market looking for support, and we're sitting on the weekly trading zone right now, pretty much to the tick. Now, these are the zones that were published Tuesday morning at 6:15 a.m. Eastern. Normally they're posted Monday morning at 6:15 a.m. Eastern. So on the Dow, we're sitting right on top of the lowest weekly trading zone. Already took it out on the ES, but by close of business, you got to embrace all possibilities. We could be back at it or above it. Most weeks we are. We've published the zone since December 14th of 2009 on a weekly basis for our members. This December will mark 15 years. There are weeks when we close outside of the highest zone or the lowest zone, but pretty much 97, 98% of the time, somewhere in there, we close inside the zones for the week. Think of it as a playing field at the beginning of the week. Okay, this is the highest the market should go. This is the lowest the market should go. But sometimes market does things other than the high probability thing. Almost as if it has a mind of its own. So from the zone to the tick to the zone to the tick. It's pretty cool. On the Russell, here's where we opened below the BBC, and pretty quickly we dropped to the short target, and the market found support at the weekly trading zone, just as it did yesterday. When the market finds support, it's going to send it back to the BBC. Market finds support, it sends it back to the BBC. This is resistance. Now we're looking for support. Okay. On the Russell, we're also below the lowest weekly zone. I have a difficult time seeing this recover to get back to the zone. But again, embrace all possibilities because you never know what's going to happen. But the step line, see how it's starting to angle? See that's straight, but that's starting to hook to the right. Once that crosses red and falling, look for a retracement back to the BBC. Now the pullback to the BBC holds more often than it doesn't, whether you're pulling from below, pulling from above. Just remember, the pullback holds more often than it doesn't. That should help you tremendously in your trading. From way down here, look at this wild ride. This is at 11 a.m. Eastern today. Yeah. Price ran all the way up. Look how close it came to the BBC. It got above red and falling and came within just a tick or two of the BBC. But by the time the 30-minute candle closed, price was all the way back here. That's extreme volatility. It's very difficult to manage a trade with that kind of volatility. So this looks like a rounding bottom, or a J-Lo bottom as it's called, and that may send price back to the BBC. If we overcome the BBC, yeah, it's conceivable that we could get back to that lowest weekly zone. But most likely, if the step line does cross and we do run back to the BBC, the highest probability at this point would be that we would get another leg to the downside, back down to these lows. In Q, here's where we opened last night, below the BBC. This was the candle the CTAs came out on, and there's your goal for the day. At the short target, we went through the short target, we spiked the weekly trading zone, but it's still touching, see? And so the support, which you can find over here, pushed us right back up to resistance. Resistance sent us back down to support, where we consolidated at the weekly zone. 70% of the time, when price reaches the weekly zone, a weekly zone, you're going to get consolidation. 20% of the time, rejection. 10% of the time, a slice. So down we come. Look left, you'll find the reason for this support. We catch a rally, okay? And it takes us right up to this bearish cross right here. Now we spike it 3 times, but ultimately it holds. When you have a bearish cross that leads to an extended move, the first time price revisits that area will almost always be good resistance. Then the rest is just downward history. But notice the step line is also getting that little hook to the right. So that covers all of the indices. We'll jump to crude oil when I come back. Right now, Michael's going to give us a recap of what happened in the live training room this morning. Then we'll do some live trading on the TradingView platform for 30 minutes. And again, I'll come back, finish that recap, and wrap the week up with our good word for the day.
Good word for the day. All right, let me grab it and bring it over here. There it is. Okay. There.
Looks good.
All right. Good. let's get the home page going here. There we go. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Today is, hold it. Today is Friday, the 6th day of September 2024. Now, if you have not taken a free trial with us, go here to mytradingiq.com, click on the purple button right here. Now, I got to get rid of that one, refresh this page, and then click on the purple button so it brings up the new registration page. And when you do that, all you have to do right here is give us your first name, your last name, your email, your phone number. There are 5 multiple choice questions on the bottom of that down here. If you want to get the indicators indicating on your desktop, then all you need to do is give us your machine ID here and your TradingView login ID there. Okay, the TradingView login ID is the most important. Okay, the machine ID, you can have the indicators on your NinjaTrader platform if you want to, but they are not what we're using in the room. Get the TradingView login ID. Get that to us if you have it. Okay, if you don't have it, go take the free trial. There was something that I found out yesterday that I've been saying that was wrong. If you get the free version, with the free version, you can get our indicators. We can put our indicators on there for you, but you cannot get the data for the free version. Not for $7 a month, you can't. You can get the data, but it's like $30 a month for the first month. But if you want to just look at our stuff, put our stuff on, look at it with delayed data, you are welcome to do that with the free version. Okay, I did realize that yesterday after trying to help Philip get his free version going. We did get the free version going, but it was delayed data. Anyway, if you're going to read the spreadsheet, you got to read all the CFTC risk disclosures down at the bottom. I had my worst day ever on the YM today. I don't think if you go back and look over the 10 years, I don't think I've had a day this bad on the YM ever. But we made up for it with everything else. On the NQ, we're up 270 ticks. On the Russell, we're up 42 ticks. On the YM, we were down 110. We had 5 losing trades on the YM. Now, none of those should have been the way they were, really. 3 of them were to the tick, I think. And I'll get into it in a minute. But anyway, we're down 110 on the YM, and we're down 10 on the ES. Put us at plus 885 per contract on the morning session. Today it took 3 minutes and 1 trade to get to the goal for the day. At that point, we're up $900, and we took a total of 36 trades this morning. So we had a whole bunch of trades. There's a ton of volatility today. On the month now, we're $4,785 over 4 business days, averaging $1,196 per contract per 2-hour business day. On the year, we've got our goal on 167 days so far, every business day. And we've gone 82 days since our last non-green day, and 329 business days since our last red day. Okay. So on the year now, we're at $74,585 over 167 business days, averaging $446 per contract per 2-hour business day. Now, the 2420 blueprint, we've gone with 9 contracts. All right. We finished the 2420 blueprint, and that was great. Now we're going to continue it again. We're going to finish it again this year. All right, at the beginning of next year, I'll probably just start with 10 contracts and stay with 10 contracts. I'm not sure. We'll see how that works out. But anyway, with the 2420 blueprint, so far this year, you only had to work 51.36 hours to get your goal for the day. And today was another one where we got the goal early. And I actually did the math on these. Today, it took us 3 minutes and 1 trade to get to $900. So it was $300 a minute is what we made. And yesterday, it took 13 minutes and 4 trades to get to $2,600. So that was $200 a minute. So it was $300 a minute, $200 a minute. Tuesday, it took 11 minutes and 5 trades to get to $1,300. So that was just over $100 a minute. And on Monday, is that right? I think so. This was Tuesday. Anyway, it took 6 minutes to get to $2,160. So I think that was our best day. We were over $300 on that day where it took 6 minutes to get to $2,100. Then today where it took 3 minutes to get to $900. And then this day, right here, where it took 13 minutes to get to $2,600. That was $200 a minute. And this day right here was a little over $100 a minute. Just went through that. I'm a math geek. Anyway, that's all that stuff. So let's get into the trades that we actually did do. We had a bunch of them today, and the YM. We'll start out with the YM because it was my nemesis today. And you will see that last night in the partners meeting, they showed me how to use new arrows. You see my new arrows? Fancy, huh? My first trade was right here. I don't know why I didn't get my stop to break even on that, but I didn't, and I stopped out. My next trade was right here. I should not have taken this trade. It didn't have a higher swing. That stopped me out, so it was minus 25, minus 50. Then we got a little bit back right here. We got 10 ticks there that got us to minus 40. Then I took this one right here. This one pretty much stopped me out to the tick, and it went down like it should. That put me at minus 65. We had to break even on that one. We got 5 ticks on that to get us to minus 60. So that was pretty much stop out to the tick. I don't know why. I got 5 ticks in profit on it. The next one over here, I don't know why I got stopped out on that or why I didn't have my stop at break even. But I got stopped out on that, and that put us at minus 85. And then this one right here pretty much stopped us out to the tick. It went through my stop by a little bit, but it did end up going down in the right direction. And that put me at minus 110. And that was where I stopped trading the YM. During the break, it's been really messy during the break. And when European markets closed, the markets got really sideways and flat. So on the YM, we had our worst day ever on the YM. The Russell, we made it up a little bit. We had a pretty good day on the Russell. Look at that little thing. Stretch it out. Okay, and this was the wrong. When I first started out, I was using the wrong one. Let's see if I can put that. I can put it right on top. You don't need to see that little guy. There. All right, on the Russell, our first trade was plus 20. That's where we got the goal for the day on this trade right here. Plus 20. Then we had a break even on that one, and we had a plus 10 on that to get us to plus 30. Break even there, and a plus 12 on that one to get us to 42. And that was it. And you can see the markets just got completely sideways on us there. In the ES, we had quite a few trades on the ES this morning. Go back to the very beginning. Go back to the very beginning. Whoa, whoa, look at that big guy. There you go. Right back to the very beginning. Those arrows are, they're not the same as the other ones. The other ones are one size only, and these are really flexible. All right, so on the ES, we started out here. Our first trade on the ES, we picked up 4 ticks. The next one, we picked up 8 more to get us to 12. Then I didn't write that one in. And yeah, I didn't write that one in. Then we stopped out, and that put us to minus 8. Then we had a break even. We stopped out again. That put us to minus 18. And then we had a break even there. And at the end, way over here, we had a plus 8. And that put us to minus 10. There was one positive trade that I didn't take credit for, but it's all right. There was another break-even trade right there that I took, and then we get into the break. During the break, there were some decent trades in here, it looks like, during the break. Maybe one right here. One right here. That would have been a break-even trade. Gotta stretch it out so that, because it's all crunched up in here. One right there would have been okay. One right here on the long side, just enough for a break-even. Really choppy sideways action through here. One right here would have been okay. Another break even right there. Now, these are 7 range bars. It's only to go 4 ticks into profit. That one would have stopped you out to the tick. And more sideways junk. Now we get to the NQ. Now, we did not end at the high of the day on the NQ. But as you can imagine, the NQ had a ton of trades this morning. And you can see those big giant arrows. They'll shrink when I minimize the size of the chart, I think. All the way back. Here we go. Okay. So here we go. On the NQ. Our first trade on the NQ was right here. We stopped out. Minus 36 ticks. The next trade was right here. Plus 48. That got us to 12. Then we went from 12 to 60. From 60 to 108. 108 to 156. we had a break even and another break even and another break even. And they went from 156 to 268, so we had a small win there. From 168 to 216, so we had another 48 tick there. Small win, small win. I'm sorry, break even, break even. 216 to 224, so that was a small win there. 224 to 228, so small win there. Then a break even. Then that was 48, so we went from 228. Actually, it wasn't 48. Went from 228 up to 256. I guess it was. And then another 48 right there, went from 256 up to 302. Then we stopped out, put us back down to 266, then a break even, and then right at the end, we had a +4 to get us to 270. Whew, that was a lot of trading. It was a lot of trading today. Let me look in here. Okay, there were no questions. So we'll look in here, and there was a short here. This is all during the break. There was a short here that worked out pretty well. Ribbon had to be spread in here. There was one right there. If we spread it out, you'll see that. I think you could see all 4 lines on that one right there. You could have taken a trade there. Here if you wanted to, or here if you didn't take that one. That did put in a lower swing, so you could have one there. That's like 30 or 40 ticks. That's another 30 or 40 ticks. And then we had over here, this long trade right here would have stopped you out. And you gotta wait until the ribbon spread out. I guess it didn't get spread out really good, really well. This would have been a break even. That would have been a break even in there, and this would have been a trade right here. That would have been a stop out. Too bad, because the next one right after would have been okay. And then right here, that just happened. A trade right here that you'd still be in right now, or taking 30 ticks profit on. That was the NQ. We had a whole bunch of trades on the NQ. We ended up with plus 270 ticks. So it was a busy day today on the NQ. Now, for anyone who is watching in the anyone who's watching YouTube, right? If you haven't taken a free trial with us, go here to mytradingiq.com. Right here it says sign up for your free 5-day training. Click on that. When you click on that, you will be sent to this registration page where all we ask for is your name, your email, and your phone number. There are 5 multiple choice questions down here at the bottom. You can give us your machine ID, and if you have TradingView, give us your login ID. All right. If you don't have TradingView, go get TradingView. All right. You can get the free version to use our indicators. You have to get one of the paid versions to actually get the data, real-time data for futures. Okay, you have to get one of the paid versions for that. But if you get the minimum paid version, if you go to trading platforms and you do this right here, watch this video, and you click on this and you get the minimum paid version, which is $12.95. Well, it's actually $14.95 a month. If you get that, it comes with all the data for stocks and whatnot, but you have to pay $7 a month to get the additional data for futures. So you end up paying $21.95 a month for the additional data for futures, and you get the charts with two charts per tab, 5 indicators per chart, 20 technical alerts and 20 price alerts, and you get custom time frames. So the $21 a month that you're paying for this and for the data is cheaper than it would be to get the free version and pay for the data for the free version. It turns out to be like $30 a month to get the free version and pay for the data, because you don't get free data with the free version. Did not realize that until yesterday. You get delayed data with the free version. All right, so I just want to point all that out to everyone. Get TradingView. It's worth it. 21 bucks. 21 bucks a month. To get everything that you need to get our stuff running on your charts. All right, so why am I on this page? I need to be on this page. So now we can try to take some trades. All right. Let's see here. On the NQ, we want to pull back down to get into the oversold. On the ES, we want to get into the oversold. On the YM, everything, the ribbon is spread out bullish on every one of these. So everyone just needs to get down into the oversold and come on to the oversold now. Okay, everyone is spread out bullish. So that's all we need to have happen there. Okay. All right. All right. Let's see. On the NQ, we are not oversold yet. On the ES, we're not oversold yet, and these other ones aren't even close yet. So we need some down closes here, a couple of down closes, and then we'll be able to take trades. I think we can. Get that ready over here as well. Okay, we did not come down to the oversold yet on the NQ. We need to get all the way down there. So we're looking for a retracement here, a little bit of a retracement on one of these. Does anybody have any questions? I don't see any questions. Where's the question box? I lost it. There it is. I don't see any questions. Yeah. Well, the markets, when European markets shut down, everything got really quiet. And I don't know about the YouTube. I don't have the YouTube open right now, but let me open that up.
There's no questions there.
Okay. All right. Well, it is 1:12, so we have 18 minutes left in here.
Or one of the ones watching on YouTube, if you have questions, just type them in.
Yes. I'm going to meet with Mike R. about that thing that we talked about in the meeting last night. I'm going to meet with him today.
Oh, okay, great.
So we'll see if I can figure that out, if he can show me exactly what's going on with that.
That'd be great.
And yeah, okay, so this is the YouTube channel. Here it is right there. So there, we're finally oversold now. We're finally oversold there on the NQ. Cursor is in the wrong place. And we need the up close here on the NQ right now. The low of this is, so 850 is what you're looking for. There it is, the up close. I just went long on the NQ. Here it is. And I am going to throw my stop at break even right now after 4 ticks in profit. Now I'm going to hit the break even button, and that should replace that with the original stop. There it is. Okay, so now we're going to start locking in some profit on this. And we are still in it. 7. So that's 16 ticks right there. And route was 16 on that one. Okay. 16 ticks. It's not 16 ticks. Was it? Yeah, it was 16 ticks. 4 points is what it was. All right, so that worked out. Now the other ones have not gotten into the oversold yet, so we don't have any trades on those yet. Okay, they've not gotten into the oversold yet. All right, so we want to see this pull back and test the ribbon here, and here, and here. I'm sorry, we don't have to see it test the ribbon. We want to see it pull back and get into the oversold here, and here, and here. This testing the ribbon thing, that is just in my head. But we did have a bullish cross, so after the bullish cross, you anticipate that it's going to come back and test the ribbon. And it did actually do it. It did it over here on the YM. Almost did it here on the Russell. It did do it here on the ES. And it did it right here on the NQ.
That was picture perfect on the ES.
Yes, right there. And it gave both at the same time, did the same thing here on the NQ. You got that there, you got that there. And over here on the YM, it didn't pull back deep enough. Of course, the YM has been kicking my butt today.
The NQ turned red a little bit on the ribbon.
Yes.
Then it turned back
Yeah,
to blue on the next candle.
Right in there. If you stretch that out, you'll see it was okay. If you stretch it out, you can see all 4 lines.
Yeah.
And everything was blue.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know.
Again,
I thought it went to red. Maybe it didn't.
it did. It went to red a little bit,
Just a
but
tiny,
it went right back.
Yeah, one candle.
Yeah. Yep, just one candle right here. Or those 2 candles. But it went right back. So it's all good. It's all good. We are oversold here on the ES now. 31 on the ES is what we're going to buy. All right. Here it is. 29 up to 31. The high of the bar is going to be right here at 30.75. As long as 29 remains the low, the high is going to be right here at 30.75. So we're going to trigger it in at 31 on an up close. Okay. And this one did not get to oversold. This one did not get to oversold. So that's what we're looking at this juncture. Okay, if it goes down below 28.50 is going to be 30.50. Right, 28, 27.75, 27.50. Yeah, it's not going to be a trade, I don't think. I don't know. 29.50 is what we're looking at now. 29.25. Oh, I was going way down. 26.50 to 28.50. You see how I have to keep doing this? This is what NinjaTrader does for you. If we have that thing running here, right? It just turned to red. Now on an up close, it might turn to all blue again. It probably will, and it's going to be at 28. It'll probably turn to all blue again on the up close right here. So I'm still going to put a buy stop in the middle run right there at 28. Okay, it should pull it out of the oversold and turn to all blue again. It just did turn to all blue again right there. You see. And so we triggered in. I got to find my DOM again. I should have that pinned on top. Where is it? Here it is. Okay. So from 28.25, it ran up to 29. It didn't go Forex into profit yet. You see these numbers up here? This is what it should be searching for. Those numbers up there. That one up there. It's right up here, right there. 30.25. We need Forex in profit to bump the stock to break even. And we're waiting. 2, 2, 3, one more. It's gonna go, I think. Right there is what it needs to get up to. Is what it's trying to get up to. Is my stop in the right place? It's not, is it? All right. In the meantime, we are oversold over here on the YM. We came out of the oversold over there on the NQ. And the Russell hasn't given us anything yet. Okay. The YM needs to come out of the oversold. Sure, something over here on the S. I didn't have to take a slip on that. Actually, I didn't take a slip. I got exactly where I should have gone. We're okay on the S. Still waiting for it to give us what we need, though. The Russell's not going to give us anything. The YM could. The NQ already went from this right here where it came out of the oversold. It went enough to get the stop to break even if you got into it at that point. I think everything should work right here. Everything should start pushing up right here. The NQ, again, just gave us second trigger right there. Now, this second trigger, this is important that you understand this. The first one didn't put in a higher swing, so the second one's not a valid trade. Right? If you got in on the first one, you didn't move your stop to break even, you're still in it. But you can't re-enter on the second one. If you got in and took some profit, you can't re-enter on the second one because it didn't put in a higher swing. Every trade has to continue the trend, whether you take it or not. every trade has to continue the trend. Okay, so every time it comes out of the oversold, if the ribbon is spread, it has to continue the trend. Like this one right here on the ES, the trade was from back here. And if it pops up again right here, this one, well, it already did right here, right there, the stops are break even now. It already did right here. You can't take it again. Okay, now, the place that it should go to was 31.50. I had my order rate there at that number because that's what the DOM was showing, but 31.50 is where it should go to. Right there, the prior swing high. Okay, now watch the YM over here. YM, the NQ as well. The NQ, if you took that, and I did, I can show it to you in a minute. It worked out. YM, I didn't take the YM. I didn't have my order waiting there. And I'm glad I didn't have it waiting there, but I just put it on because it didn't go enough into profit to get the stop to break even from that point. Okay, so we're out of this with a little bit, and this has to go 10 ticks into profit. It's going to get to 83 for me to bump this stop to break even on the YM. Okay, so we're out of the ES now. I don't know if we got a break even or if we got one tick in profit or something. We need to hit 83 right here on this YM. The YM is at my number all day. There it is. All right, so I'm going to lock in 2 ticks on the YM just because it's been kicking my butt. It should get up to 508, so it should get all the way up to here right now. All right, it should go all the way up to there right now. And so I'm going to get 2 ticks, or I'm going to get a whole bunch, whatever that is, 28 ticks or something like that, 25 ticks. 25 ticks. I'm going to get 2 or 25. Now, the reason I have that number there at 508, in case you didn't notice that, is because it's the prior swing high right here. Every trade should exceed the prior swing high. You guys remember a couple weeks ago I talked about the diamond principle and how that all comes together. This comes down to here, and then it goes up to here, and then you have your price movement right there should replicate going up to there, and your time element goes over to here. Okay, so this should get up to here, right? And you see we're way into profit on it right now. That's chewing away pretty well at my minus 110. So now I'll be minus 100 now. Yeah, to 11 ticks, minus 99. Okay, and now I'm actually going to lock in more. Where am I in it? It's 25 if it gets me right there, and it should get me right there. 73. So now I've got, it's going to get it. There it is. Okay, so that's 25 ticks profit right there. So that helps a little bit. Takes care of one of those trades, and I had
translate that into dollars and cents for folks times 9 contracts.
Well, 25. It's $125 with 1 contract, right? So that would be just about $1,100 with 9 contracts. Okay, let me do the math. I'll do the math for you. It is 5 times 25. It's $125 times 9. $1,125.
I thought you were right.
So that is what it was right there. That one trade. The NQ was 48 ticks though. I can share that. I can share the prints on that in just a sec. Let's see the NQ. Hang on. Here it was right here. The NQ looked like this. Here it is. So it was 48 ticks on the NQ. Right, I bought there and I sold there. 12 points on the NQ. And that, if we translate that one, that is 48 times 5 times 9. That was 2,160. So plus 1125 $3,285 between those two trades. The NQ one was right here. I didn't manage it correctly. I should have been on a break even on it. When it moved up about 15 or 16 ticks right there. But I was dealing with a YM trade over here. We never did get the Russell trade. Didn't pull back deep enough, and we ended up with a break even on the ES trade. So we've had 3 decent trades. Now the ES trade ended up working out, doing everything that it should do. Russell just didn't pull back deep enough to give us a trade. Okay. Let me.
And have you heard all this crazy news about this shooting that happened at that high school in Georgia this weekend?
Yeah, Jada was telling me about it yesterday.
Supposedly the kid was a trans shooter, but the dad said I did it, and so now the dad's locked up. When I did the news this morning before you came on, I didn't even touch that one because there's so many confusing news stories, quote unquote news stories out there. You know, I had no way to know which one was truth.
Well, when Jada told me about it, I said, I bet the parents get locked up. And she just told me about that. That was my first reaction, that the parents are going to get locked up because, nowadays it's like the kids have no responsibility anymore. They can't be held responsible for anything.
I'm still not sure who pulled the trigger because the dad said I did it.
I don't know. The little bit that I read said the kid did it, and the dad, the FBI had been involved and stuff like that. Once Jada told
they've been watching this kid for like a year. He's been on their radar.
Yeah. How does that happen?
I don't know.
How incompetent is that? He's on the radar. He still manages to do this. Why are there any weapons anywhere near this kid? I just don't get it.
But they said he strolled out with all the other kids. Typically that's not how these active shooters deals end. It usually ends up with the shooter getting shot or them shooting themselves.
Yeah, turn the weapon on himself.
Yeah, he just strolled out with all the other kids, like you see in these bank robbery movies, where they got their costumes inside or whatever, and they walk out as a hostage, and they decide to set the hostage go, and the criminals walk out as if they were a hostage. So anyway.
I have no idea. I don't watch the news. I don't even get a news channel on my TV. I don't think. I get my news from the breeze. That's where I think I got all the news that I know about that. Jada told me something about it.
It's a bizarre thing.
It is. It's crazy.
And I know Winder, Georgia, because I grew up in Georgia. I mean, it's just.
I thought that sounded familiar. It seems like someplace that I've been to recently too.
Quiet little town outside of Atlanta.
Isn't it it's near Dahlonega? I think that's where I went to get my boat.
That's pronounced Dahlonega.
Dahlonega.
Yeah. It's a tough one. Yeah.
It is.
My mom used to live up in that area, Hiawassee, which is another tough one if you've never seen it or said it before. It's a beautiful country.
Dahlonega. Yeah, ask
Dahlonega.
Rico. Rico's out in the audience. It was a beautiful country for him when he had to do training twice there. They dropped him in the mountains, made him live off the land twice. He is out in the audience right now.
Was he naked and afraid?
He probably wasn't naked. I don't know about afraid. He did get dropped with he was in the army at that point, weren't you? All right. So the YM did give another
Rico's
trade right
been
here.
to Winder.
Yes. Yeah. He lives down there.
Oh, is that where you live, Rico? I didn't know that.
Yep.
I grew up in Thompson, which is just outside of Augusta.
Thompson, that's where I went to prep school. Thompson, Connecticut. Anyway, it's time, guys. It is 13:30. So we had a good trade over here. We had one good trade on the YM. We had one good trade on the NQ. We had a break-even trade on the ES. And the Russell trade is about to trigger right now. It needs to come out to be oversold down here, and that would trigger the Russell. Everything else is starting to turn down right here, though. The Russell seems to be the last one catching on. But the ribbon is starting to spread out on the downside on that one and on that one. And it's not quite caught on over there on the YM yet. But that's what it's looking like. All right, so if you have not taken a free trial with us, go here to mytradingiq.com, go to the homepage on mytradingiq.com. And see, is Michael R in here? Hang on, the other Michael R. He's not. Go to mytradingiq.com, click on this purple button right here. There's no credit card required for the trial. When you click on that, you'll be brought to this registration page. On the registration page, just fill out the form. There are 5 multiple choice questions. All right. Just fill them out honestly. All right. If you have an NinjaTrader, give us your machine ID. If you have TradingView, give us your login ID. Really try to get TradingView. If you don't have it, try to get TradingView. Just follow the instructions on this page right here, trading platforms.
And as I've said many times on the broadcast before you come on, if you've taken the trial in the past, okay, I know that we got a lot of new things. You've watched this broadcast, you've seen the indicators, you've seen the simplicity. If you are serious about a free trial, I mean, you don't have to try to sneak in the back door. Just send us an email, support@cfrn.net. Hey, I've taken a trial twice already, and I know you're only allowed twice, but I'm really interested in what you're doing now, and could I please take a look? And we tend to be fairly generous on that. So, yes. Now, if you're a serial free trial taker, we'll probably tell you no. But if you're just a normal person, we'll probably tell you yes.
Yes. Yes. All that he just said, that is all true.
True stuff.
All right. And with that, I can pass it back out to you, fabulous Phoenix, Arizona. Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park.
Okie doke. Recap of the morning session.
Today it took 3 minutes and 1 trade to get to $900.
Great job.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, guys, we will pick up where we left off. Let's go back and look at this daily candle or daily chart one time on the ES. Yep. Broken through that 38% fib retracement. And we're off the low of the day by a little bit. But we're really gunning for that 50. And been talking about that for a while. And we did it and overdid it once. And then the pop back was so quick. Then we went into this strange consolidation that lasted for days between the 38 and the 50 fib extension. But we got a low on the session now. 54.12 and a half. And the 50% retracement is down at 53.70. 70. Fibs are in area, so anyway. Crude, I think that's where we left off. This was the second candle, okay, this is where the CTAs were published. And we were just consolidated in a little snarl here. And then we popped up right here, just prior to the London Open. And that candle, just to give you an idea, the candle opened at 69.42 and ran up to 66. So that's $240 per contract traded in that one candle. If you earn the right to trade 10 contracts, it's $2,400. But it ran into the previous bearish cross, which is also an area. And so we got resistance all across here. Pushed us back down to here. But we didn't take out this low from yesterday on that move. Just still more consolidation. And we finally get above the BBC. And this candle takes off, but then retraces. This candle opens and ding ding, we hit the long target, resistance. It sends us back to support at the BBC. Support sends us back to resistance at the long target. And then the bottom, she fell out. 10 o'clock on crude. That's when the drop began. Got below the BBC. Got below short target. Now the lowest weekly zone's down at 6650/55. But notice how the step line is definitely hooking right. Okay. As it crosses red and falling, expect a retracement back to the BBC. Now the pullback holds more often than not. And so if in fact it holds true, then we get another leg to the downside. If this is one of the times where it trades through, okay, keep in mind that you've got this potential resistance right overhead at this bearish cross at about 69.10. So a close above the BBC and then another candle opening, you got to keep that on a real tight leash, okay, 69.10. But once you get through that area, then you're good up to here, and you're good up to here, and then you get up to here, just based on market structure. Gold, here's where we open, drop to the BBC, the pullback held, and that launched us all the way up to the weekly trading zone. Again, these are the zones that were published Tuesday morning, 6:15 a.m. Eastern. Resistance sends the market to support. Support sends the market to resistance. Support. Now, we came down and we hit the zone, and look how far we bounced, all in that one candle. Okay, that's off that 8:30 news, that wackadoo news. And we ended up closing right at the zone. Even though we spiked it, this green candle closed right at the zone. See how yesterday we spiked that zone, but we didn't close above it. And we didn't close above it today. And so that resistance sends the market looking for support, which it found at the zone. We spiked it down to the short target, and that support sent us to resistance at the BBC. It sent us back down to this zone, which we've spiked. Now, this is Friday, this is Thursday, this is Wednesday. This low right here, this low right here on Wednesday. Okay. When you hear me talk about market structure, that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. People always say, well, how far left do I have to look? As far as you need to. Okay. So once price was coming down and took out the zone, so you're just looking for the next likely spot. Could have been here, but it wasn't. It was here. Support sends us up to resistance. We got a zone. We got the step line. Chances are window of opportunity conservatively, 25.20, 25.18. That's $200 per contract traded. And again, that's being conservative. It's over. Another wild ride today after a $5,000 per contract move yesterday. When the price of silver moves $1, that's worth $5,000 per contract traded. When crude moves $1, that's worth $1,000 per contract traded. Gold moves $1, it's $100 per contract traded. Did look at the gold right yet. Just finished it. So on the silver, today we go from the high of the session up at $29.47 to the low at 28. That's almost, that drop right there is $7,500 per contract traded. And I have to say it, if you've earned the right to trade 10 contracts, that's a $75,000 move. Wow. And although we're starting to consolidate sideways, the step line is not showing us any sign of angling right. So we may have to go back down and test these lows again. There's still one more zone way down below at 27.19 slash. From the high of the session to the low of the session. 7,500 bucks. 28 to 29.46. Okay, so 4 pennies from being, wait a minute, 47. So 3 pennies. 3 pennies from being 7,500 bucks. Okay. The euro took a wild ride today, or this session. Here's where we opened last night. The CTAs came out on the second, 5 minutes into the second candle. Ran up to the weekly trading zone, consolidated for a bit. That's what happens 70% of the time. And then we ran up and tagged the long target. Resistance sent us to support. Pull back to the BBC held. That sent us back to resistance at the target. So that gave us like a 1, 2, 3 triple top there. Now, we get below the BBC, we get red and falling, and it takes us all the way down to the short target. Spike the zone. Now, this is a really incredible candle. It opened here. It dropped all the way down to here. Keying off this low right here, buyers came in and they pushed it all the way through the BBC, all the way through the long target, all the way up to here. But then by the time that 30-minute candle closed, now this is off that 8:30, all that news we had at 8:30, there was just a ton of it. Where do we close? Right at the target. So once, twice, thrice, 4 times. Then we spike it again and we begin the big move down. Not as big as the previous move down. Catch a little bounce, continue down. And we do put in a lower low. This low came down to the zone to the tick, as they say. And then after this, then it made this run all the way up here. That is some extreme volatility. From here, all the way back up here, all the way back down here. But notice the pullback to the BBC. Even though we spiked it an incredible amount, look where we closed. That candle closed right at the BBC. Remember, when price is above the 30-minute BBC, think bullish. Okay. Yes, in an up move, there are going to be retracements. Those create your buying opportunities in the uptrend. Same is true in a downtrend. Okay. Price moves down, but then it's going to move up to give you your opportunity to sell, which brings you down to where we are now, just above. Now, that was a 9:30 open on Wall Street right there. This candle right here. these lows, see that wild volatility during the 9:30 to 10 candle, it's not my favorite thing in the world. But it's a personal preference. Michael, Valerie, they hit the ground running right at the opening bell every day. This low put in back on Wednesday, these lows didn't quite make it all the way down. Now we've got a red candle and we're coming down. So should see price move back at least to these lows, possibly the low of the session. And this thing's so erratic, maybe we take out the low of the session. Yesterday, we found resistance at the zone. We found support at the zone. That's how price moves. Zone to zone, zone to zone. And the daily. $54.12 still. All right. Become a member today. Go to mytradingiq.com. If you have questions, call 949-42-EMINI. Send an email to support@cfrn.net. When you become a passport holder, you have access to 2 hours of live training every trading day. 9 out of 10 new traders fail simply because they don't have a teacher. They got books, they got cherry-picked videos, and maybe they have spent some time with a grumpy guru, which didn't really help. In our live training room, you'll find a very positive, upbeat environment. And you'll have all the information and all the tools available to help you actually learn how to trade. 9 out of 10 new traders never get that opportunity. Along with 2 hours of interactive live training, and interactive means you're trading along in your demo account so you can qualify to go live, and you're asking every question that pops into your head. A couple of weeks, you'll run out of questions. I mean, you can only ask so many questions because our methodology is even simpler now than it was before. It was pretty simple before. It's even simpler. That's why I encourage you, those who've taken the trial in the past, you want to take a trial, or you want to try out the new indicator setup, then you don't try to come in the back door. It's just awkward for everybody. Just ask, okay? Private one-on-one mentoring. A lot of places promise it. We actually do it. I'll never forget, I was in a mentoring session one day, first time with a new member, and he goes, "Oh my God, you actually showed up." I go, "Well, yeah, you booked a mentoring session." He goes, "Well, I know, but I was with this other place, and they had private mentoring, but nobody ever showed up." And then when I asked why, they said, "Oh, that guy, he doesn't work here anymore." And I said, "Well, okay, no problem. I understand. Things happen. Who's my new guy?" They said, "Well, you don't have a new guy. He was your guy, and your guy left." And imagine how he felt. We're like family, okay? So you don't have to worry about your guy leaving and now you're just hung out to dry. The strategy you learn, the indicators you own as a passport holder, are fluid across all markets and all time frames. So you mostly saw, I think all you saw today was some futures trading, but the strategy and the indicators, they work just fine on individual stocks, crypto, Forex, ETFs. Price flow is the same across all markets and all time frames. From support to resistance, back to support, back to resistance, over and over, again and again. I think I just saw a post come through from Stefan that, I don't know if I think it was the ES, just hit the weekly BBC. If I saw that right. Let me see here. Okay. Come on. Give me a break. Alright. Just trying to find a chart I can use. Thanks, Rico. Rico said, yeah, he just posted that. Okay, I'm going to see if I can give you guys a glance at it. I had to find a chart I could use. Let's go weekly. So here's the weekly chart of the ES. As I said before, the BBC, put it on any time frame. Markets are fractal in nature. So the BBC does the same job whether you're on a weekly chart, a daily chart, 30-minute chart, 5-minute chart, tick chart, range chart, doesn't matter. Price gets above the BBC. Now we're thinking higher prices. Red and falling is turned to blue and climbing, and then right here you get the bullish cross. That's confirmation that price is really going to attempt to go higher. This is kind of unusual right here. The step line crossed blue and climbing, continued climbing for weeks until it finally did what this told us it would do. But goodness gracious, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 weeks. But then we got to pull back to the BBC, and the pullback held. Then we get a leg and a retracement, and a leg and a retracement. And to the casual observer, you would go, well, that pullback didn't hold. But it did. Yes, we spiked it, but notice that the candle, it's still touching the BBC. So, I mean, a more typical type of hold is this. But this is a hold too. It just spiked it. Okay? And actually closed just a little bit below it. But that wick was still touching it. So that sent it up to red and falling. We overcame red and falling, but we were not able to take out the all-time historic high at 57.21 1/4. Now we're back to the BBC. Now, if this doesn't hold, okay, now these are fibs on a weekly chart going from the low of October 27th of last year to the new all-time historic high put in July of this year. And right below the BBC is that's the shallowest possible fib retracement. Now, the larger the time frame, the more important the information that it provides you with. You jump out to a monthly. Actually, I guess those fibs still work fine. From the low of October of last year to the high of July of this year. Now, we've already, on the monthly, gotten below blue and climbing and the step line. 24% fib retracement on the monthly chart is just below at 53.75/76 fibs in area. Okay. And then now, since we put in the new all-time historic high, price has already on the monthly visited the 38% fib retracement. So we're coming down to the 24 again. That could be good for a bounce, but it certainly looks like we're going to get there. Okay. Now, over here, look at the highs of these 3 monthly candles. You're going, oh, so the 24% retracement was resistance. Well, at the time these 3 monthly candles were created, this wasn't the 24% fib retracement. This didn't become the 24% fib retracement until this high was put in. From this low to this high. Back then, when the all-time historic high was this candle, okay, we got to drop to the 24, and then the 24 took us back to the all-time high at that time, and then we powered on above it. And this drop here, look how close it came to the 24. So this month was a red candle all the way down. By the time the month ended, the month of August, had a little green body up there. Now, in the proper context, if this candle came in after a big downtrend, that would be so incredibly bullish. But based on the current market context here, it's really just sort of a continuation signal. Price trying to get to the, well, gotta fix that. So price trying to get to the 24, then 38, then the monthly BVC, and that's a really big deal. So anyway, Stephen, thanks for sharing that with us, and Rico, thanks for you letting me know that that was in fact what it was and what he was sharing. Okay. When you become a passport holder, along with everything I already said, you get the Logic 247 alerts, the concierge trade alerts, you get the weekly trading zones every Monday morning at 6:15 a.m. Eastern. And you're able to attend the members only workshop every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. We had a good one last night, so members, if you missed it, it's in the vault. Check it out. Okay. Let's wrap things up with our good word for the day. Yesterday, we talked about a prayer for financial contentment. For some people, there's never enough. A prayer of commitment to God. John 17:4. I have glorified you on the earth. I have finished the work which you have given me to do. John 17:4. If, and this is a big if the desire of your heart is to please God and fulfill His will for your life, here's a prayer for you. Lord, I thank you that even though you know everything about me, you still love me. You know my thoughts, my mistakes, my sins, and yet you still call me your child. Your grace towards me is beyond comprehension. More than anything else, I want to know you intimately and sense your presence in my life each day. If there is any part of me that I have kept from you, show me so that I can invite you to rule and reign there. Come into me, Holy Spirit, and revive my soul with rivers of living water. then flow out through me into a dry and thirsty world. Help me to keep my eyes fixed on you instead of others. Lord, be my richest treasure always. Help me never to make an idol out of anyone or anything, or allow possessions or the distractions of this world to get in front of you in any way. You are my healer, my hope, and my strength. When I need freedom, you are my deliverer. You are my shield from the enemy, my counselor when I need guidance, and my stronghold in the day of trouble. Truly you are the God of miracles. Work your miracles of grace in my life and keep changing me from day to day into your likeness. In Jesus' name, amen. That's a great prayer. I'm going to post that in the Breeze channel. Yes, I am. All right. That's it for this week, folks. That's our good word for the day. Thanks so much for tuning in. Whoever you are, wherever you are, may God continue to richly bless you with His mercy and with His grace. And I'll see you at the bell.
Remember this, there is no greater return on investment than to see a human life changed and given hope. As always, pray hard and trade safe. Any financial information discussed on this show is simply the opinion of our host, Dwayne Reeves, his co-hosts, and guests. To learn more about trading E-mini futures or to take a 1-week free trial in our live trading room, call 1-866-928-3310. 866-928-3310. Information discussed on this radio program should not be construed as a recommendation to buy or sell any security. Always do your own due diligence and consult with a licensed securities broker or financial planner before making any investment decision.